The morning at the cafe begins as usual. The hum of the coffee grinder, the smell of freshly baked goods, and hushed conversations. Mia finishes setting up chairs. Her shift partner, Lisa, is already yawning behind the counter, finishing her last hour. Mia looks out onto the street. Autumn rain drizzles across the asphalt, turning it a dark gray. Across the street, a car pulls to a smooth stop at the curb. It's long, black, and shiny, even in the rain. Cars like that don't stop in this neighborhood. Delivery vans and battered sedans park here. Mia automatically adjusts her apron. She looks at the car. The rear window rolls down slightly, and she sees him. A man sits in the salon. He looks straight at her. His black hair is neatly combed back. His face is pale. His cheekbones are prominent. But what Mia notices most are his eyes. Dark brown, almost black. They express nothing. No curiosity, no anger, no interest. It's the look of a man looking at something. A chair or a painting on the wall, cold and searching. That look makes Mia freeze for a second. A chill runs down her spine. Not fear, but rather anxiety. The feeling of a predator watching you, and you don't even know it. The driver, a large man in a dark jacket, gets out of the car. He opens the door for the passenger. The passenger, without taking his eyes off Mia, slowly steps out. He is tall, wearing a perfectly tailored black coat. He slowly fastens his button, his movements precise and economical. He glances briefly toward the cafe again, then turns and walks down the street, disappearing around the corner. The driver gets back in the car and waits. Mia suddenly realizes she's been holding her breath. She lets it out. Just a rich weirdo, she tells herself silently, but the chill down her spine doesn't go away. Those eyes. They seem to be imprinted in her memory. An hour passes. The rain intensifies. The cafe is sparsely populated. Two men at a corner table, construction workers judging by their clothing, have already had several beers. Their conversation grows louder. "I'm telling you, you're wrong!" One of them, the red-haired one, raises his voice, slamming his fist on the table. The cups bounce. "You're the one who doesn't understand anything," the second, stocky and bald one, shouts back. Lisa looks at them with concern and retreats to the phone, as if deciding whether to call someone. Mia sighs. She doesn't have time to call the police and get into an argument. She puts the rag down on the counter and heads to their table. The men are already standing up. The stocky one pushes the red-haired one in the chest. He responds in kind. A fight is about to start. Mia steps right between them. She doesn't run, doesn't scream. She simply steps into the space they're preparing to fill with their fists. "Hey," she says calmly, but so that she can be heard over their shouts. "Hey!" They both turn to look at her, annoyed. "What?" the red-haired man barks. "You have two options," Mia says, looking from one to the other. Her voice is even, without a quiver. She's calmed drunk so many times at the bar where she used to work. First, you both leave now, and I won't even charge you for the last round. Second, you continue. I'll call the cops, and then the manager will charge you for the broken property. He loves to do that. The amounts are astronomical. She says it simply as a statement of fact. No threats in her voice, but no fear either. She's simply telling them the rules of the game. The stocky man looks at her serious face, her confident posture. He takes a step back, muttering something under his breath. The redhead looks around, noticing that everyone in the cafe is looking at them. His ardor cools. "Okay, screw it," he says to his friend. "Let's get out of here." They awkwardly gather their things, muttering apologies, and step out into the rain, still arguing, but without the same heat. Mia watches them go, then turns to clear away their dirty mugs. She doesn't see the black car still parked there. She doesn't see the rear window roll down a few centimeters again, or how those same dark brown eyes follow her every move, how she calmly wipes the table, how she nods to Lisa that everything is fine. The gaze from the car lingers on her for a moment longer. Then the window rises smoothly. Mia emerges from her shift. The rain has almost stopped, leaving behind a damp, cold haze. She pulls up the hood of her old windbreaker and searches her bag for the keys to her junky car, parked in the alley. "Miss Mia?" The voice comes from right behind her, low, emotionless. Mia turns around abruptly. A man stands before her, the same driver from the black car. He's large, with broad shoulders and an inscrutable face. He's wearing a dark suit, expensive looking, but it fits him more like armor than clothing. "Do you need to come with me?" Mia asks, trying to keep her voice steady. She estimates the distance to the cafe, to her car. "This is destined for you," the man says. He doesn't answer her question. Instead, he hands her a thin black envelope made of thick paper. Mia looks at the envelope, then at him. What is they? This is an offer. Take a look. He continues to hold the envelope. Mia slowly takes it. The envelope is heavy. She opens the flap. There are two things inside. A wad of cash, folded into a thick stack, large denomination bills. Mia has never handled so much cash in her life. And a photograph. She pulls out a photo. It's of a girl, about 5 years old, with long black hair and large, very serious eyes. She's sitting on a huge sofa in some spacious, empty room, looking straight into the camera. There's no childish carefreeness in her gaze. There's a challenge and a melancholy. Mia asks quietly, "This is Ms. Airy," the man says. "You're invited to spend 1 day with her. A trial period. If the day goes well, further discussions await. Payment is in advance for the day." He nods at the money in the envelope. Mia looks at the amount again. It's insane. In 1 day, she earns as much as she earns in 3 months of hard work. Who's proposing? The girl's father? That man from the car? You don't need to ask questions. You need to make a decision. Yes or no. Mia thinks. Money solves so many of her problems. Her brother's student debt, the piling up bills. But all her internal signals scream danger. The photo of the sad-eyed girl in the huge, empty house, that man's cold gaze, that delivery boy who looks more like a security guard than a driver. And if no? She asks cautiously. The man looks at her with the same stony gaze. Then you return the envelope, and we won't bother you anymore. The choice is yours. Mia clutches the envelope in her hands. The paper rustles. She looks again at the photo of the girl. Airy. There's a familiar, lonely stubbornness in her eyes. Mia saw it in her little brother's eyes when things were especially tough. Okay, she says, the word escaping her before fear can stop it. I'll agree to 1 day. The man nods slightly. You'll be picked up from here tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Be ready. Don't tell anyone. He turns and walks away with the same silent steps, disappearing into the darkness of the alley. Mia remains standing under the street lamp, clutching an envelope containing money and a photograph of a little princess from another frightening world. At precisely 9 o'clock in the morning, the same black car pulls up to the cafe. Mia waits, nervously fiddling with the strap of her simple bag. She's wearing clean jeans and a dark sweater. Nothing out of place, nothing provocative. Stepping out of the car, she finds herself in another world. The noisy, run-down streets of her neighborhood give way to wide, clean avenues, then quiet, well-kept alleys. The car enters a tall, ivy-covered fence through massive iron gates that swing open silently. The house behind the fence isn't really a house. It's a glass and concrete structure. Minimalistic, austere, multi-level. It seems to float above the perfect lawn. Not a single superfluous detail. Inside, it's the same story. A vast space with high ceilings. The floor is polished concrete, cold underfoot. There's little furniture. A long, low sofa, a couple of chairs, a glass table. No rugs, no paintings, no knickknacks. The air smells clean and faintly of something, like a hospital. And silence. Oppressive, absolute silence. Not a single footstep, not a single voice, not a single hum of household appliances. Only the quiet hum of a ventilation fan somewhere in the ceiling. A man in a black suit, Mr. Kim, as he introduced himself, ushered Mia inside. Mr. Zhang will be back later. The girl is currently being tutored. You should wait here. Don't stray. He leaves, his steps silent on the cold floor. Mia is left alone in the middle of this white, sterile void. She feels like she's in an aquarium, and she understands why. In the corners, where the walls and ceiling meet, she notices small black hemispheres. Cameras. Lots of them. They monitor every corner of this room, her every move. She sits on the edge of the sofa, trying not to move. She wants to clutch her bag in her hands, hide it. Everything here screams control. Money turned into an impenetrable fortress. And somewhere in that fortress lives a 5-year-old girl with sad eyes. Airy. Footsteps break the silence. Quick, light. A girl runs down the frosted glass stairs. It's her. Airy from the photograph. She's even smaller in life. Frail. She's wearing an expensive dark blue dress, her hair neatly braided. Behind her, struggling to keep up, comes an elderly woman with a frightened expression. The tutor. Airy, please. The lesson isn't over yet, the woman whispers pleadingly. The girl doesn't listen. She stops a few steps from the sofa and looks at Mia. Her large eyes, an exact copy of her father's, the same dark brown, study the new nanny without interest. There's no curiosity or fear in them. There's a cold assessment. Mia stands up to be level with her. Hi, Ari. My name is Mia. Ari doesn't answer. She slowly walks around Mia, looking her up and down. Her gaze lingers on Mia's worn sneakers and her simple bag. It's as if she's appraising someone else's, a poorly made item. The tutor catches her briefcase and, throwing Mia a look full of pity, almost runs off towards the service. Entrance. Ari stops in front of a glass shelf built into the wall. Several abstract sculptures made of crystal or glass stand on the shelf. One of them is a heavy, sharp polyhedron, the size of a grapefruit. The girl looks at Mia, then at the sculpture. Something determined flashes in her eyes. She picks up the heavy crystal ball with both hands. It's clearly hard for her to hold it. Ari, Mia says calmly, sensing what's about to happen. The girl doesn't scream or stamp her feet. She simply, with cold concentration, throws the crystal polyhedron straight at Mia. Her aim is for the chest. The movement is sharp, full of unchildlike strength. Mia has no time to think. Years of working in noisy bars and cafes, where more than just words fly, have honed her reflexes. She doesn't jump back. She takes a quick step forward and to the side, presenting not her face or chest, but her hands. The heavy, cold crystal falls into her palms with a resounding thud. The impact sends pain through her wrists. The figurine is slippery, almost slipping, but Mia clenches her fingers tightly, holding it in place. She stands like that for a few seconds, holding the object that was supposed to hit her. She doesn't look at Ari reproachfully. She doesn't scream. She doesn't get angry. She simply shifts her gaze from the crystal ball to the girl. Her face is calm. Only her eyes are attentive, serious. Then, without a word, Mia turns to the shelf. She finds the exact spot where Ari took the figurine and carefully replaces it. She does this slowly, carefully, as if it were the most important thing in the world. Turning to Ari, she sees that the girl's expression has changed. Cold confidence has been replaced by confusion. She clearly expected screams, tears, perhaps even flight. She hadn't expected such silent, steadfast calm. Her small, polished performance had collapsed in the very first act. Mia sits back down on the edge of the couch. She looks at Ari and simply waits. The silence in the room is absolute again, but now there's a tension in it. The first round is over. Later, when the initial tension had eased a little and Ari, albeit silently, allowed Mia to follow her into the playroom, equally empty, with expensive but soulless toys, the maid appeared, a woman of about 50, with a tired, kind face. She came in to change the towels in the adjoining bathroom. She glanced cautiously at Mia several times as she watched Ari mechanically rearrange the wooden blocks. When Ari turned away for a moment, tired of her task, the maid quickly, almost silently, approached Mia. She pretended to straighten the bedspread on the small sofa. "You're the fifth," she whispered so quietly that Mia barely heard. Her lips barely moved. "This year. The nannies. The others didn't last a day. The most resilient one lasted 6 hours." Mia met her gaze. There was genuine concern in the woman's eyes. "Be careful," the maid added even more quietly, glancing at Ari's back. "Not with her, with everyone." And before Mia could ask anything, the woman grabbed her old towels and quickly left the room, head bowed. Her words hung in the sterile air, adding another layer of chill to the already existing one. The fifth, be careful, not with her, with everyone. What does this mean? What happened to the previous ones? And what lurks behind the walls of this glass fortress? After a meal spent in stony silence, Ari ate without looking up, and Mia sat across from her, watching. The girl suddenly stood up from the table. She glanced at Mia, then resolutely headed for the stairs leading to the second floor. "Let's go," she said briefly over her shoulder. These were her first words in a long time. Mia followed her. They walked down a long, white hallway. Ari stopped in front of a tall, dark wood door. It was the only such door in this house of glass and light. The girl pulled the heavy handle. The door was unlocked. The room beyond was an office. Minimalism reigned here too, but in a different way. A large black desk made of solid wood. Behind it was a chair. On the wall were monitors displaying images from security cameras. The view was of the garden, the entrance, and several rooms. In the corner was a safe built into the wall. Ari ignored the serious surroundings. She ran up to her father's desk and reached for something lying on the very edge. "Look," she said, handing the object to Mia. It was a book, but not an expensive gift edition. An old, tattered children's book with cardboard pages. The color on the cover was faded, clearly having been leafed through often. It depicted some funny forest animal. The book seemed alien, a warm spot against the backdrop of this cold, perfect office, as if a piece of another world, another life, accidentally brought here and preserved. It's Daddy's, Ari said seriously. He's not hiding it, but no one should touch it. Mia picks up the book. She feels the warmth of Ari's childish hands. Why does this stern, cold man keep such a thing on his desk? What memory is associated with it? He entered silently. Mia didn't even hear the door open. She felt a shift in the air, a slight movement. Ari, sitting on the floor, rearranging the blocks again, froze. Mia turned around. Chan stood in the doorway. He had removed his jacket and was wearing black trousers and a simple gray sweater. But even so, he looked like he owned the place. His dark eyes slid over his daughter, then settled on Mia. "Dad!" Ari cried, but didn't run to him. She remained seated, as if testing his reaction to the presence of a stranger in his office. Chan slowly entered the room. His gaze fell on the children's book Mia still unconsciously held in her hands. His face didn't flinch, but something flickered in his eyes, too quickly to make out. "Miss Mia," he said. His voice was quiet, low. He didn't raise it, but each word rang out clearly, like the tap of a small hammer on glass. "I hear this morning has been eventful." He didn't ask. He stated. He knew about the crystal figurine. Of course he knew. The cameras saw everything. Mia answered simply, placing the book on the table. She tried not to look him straight in the eye. It was too hard. "Yes," said Chan. He walked over to the desk and sat down in the chair without inviting her to sit. "Tell me about yourself, Miss Mia. Why did you decide to take this job?" He began asking questions about her past experiences, about her family, about how she calmed those two in the cafe. His questions were simple, but each one felt like a blade, gently probing her armor. He was testing her history, her reactions, her weaknesses. He didn't threaten with words. His very manner of speaking, his icy calm and sense of absolute power were a silent threat. He was making it clear. Here he was the law, and she was within his sight. Zhang ended the interrogation as abruptly as he had begun. He nodded, signaling the end of the conversation, and immersed himself in the papers on his desk. Mia left the office, her knees shaking with tension. Ari rushed out after her, grabbing her book from the floor. That evening, as she was putting the girl to bed, Ari allowed her to sit on the edge of the bed, but didn't allow her to read a story. Mia saw that same old book on the nightstand. Ari was already drifting off to sleep, her breathing even. Out of curiosity, or perhaps a desire to understand, Mia carefully picked up the book. She flipped through the thick cardboard pages with their bright, simple illustrations, and between two pages, where the spine of the book had slightly separated from the binding, she saw a corner of paper. Mia carefully pulled it out. It was a photograph, not printed on photo paper, but a printout on regular office paper, already yellowed with age. The photo shows a young Korean woman. She's smiling, but her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Her eyes are large, dark, and sad. Incredibly sad. She's sitting on the grass at a picnic. Behind her, you can see trees and sunlight. Mia turns the photograph over. On the back, in neat black ink, is a single word in Korean. Mia doesn't speak the language, but it looks like a name. And below, in a different, more careless, even shaky handwriting, is scrawled in English. "Sorry." Mia's heart sank. Who was this woman? Why was her photo hidden in a children's book? And what did that desperate, "I'm sorry," mean? She hears a slight rustling sound. Ari turns over in her sleep. Mia quickly, almost panicking, puts the photograph back in the book and returns it to its place. She looks at the girl's sleeping face, so similar to her father's, and for a split second, it seems to her that Ari's features share something of the woman with the sad eyes. The mystery had just found a face, and that face looked at her with silent reproach and endless sadness. The guest room resembles a suite in an expensive hotel. Everything is perfect, clean, and impersonal. Mia can't sleep. The air here is too sterile, the silence too loud. She tosses and turns, listening to the strange sounds of the house, the soft hum of systems, the creaking of walls. Then she hears it, quiet, cautious footsteps just outside her door. They're slow, as if someone is sneaking around or just standing in the hallway, hesitant to enter. Mia freezes, listening. The footsteps fade away. Then another sound comes, a child's cry, quiet, suppressed, as if a child is trying to cry into a pillow so as not to be heard. It comes from somewhere above, from Aries' rooms. The sound pierces the silence like an icy needle. Mia's heart clenches. She sits up in bed, ready to get up and go check. But the crying suddenly stops. Completely. As if it's been turned off. A complete, deathly silence falls, even more ominous than before. Mia sits in the darkness, listening. Nothing. Only the beating of her own heart. She lies back down, but sleep won't come. Questions whirl in her head. Who was that behind the door? Why was Ari crying so quietly, as if afraid? And what or who made her suddenly stop talking? In the morning, Ari acts as usual, cold and distant. She doesn't remember crying last night, if she even had one. At breakfast, Jong announces that they can go to the park today. Ari doesn't show any joy, but her eyes brighten slightly. Two men are already waiting for them at the exit. Not Mr. Kim, but others. They are in ordinary civilian clothes, jackets, jeans, but their postures, their attentive eyes, mark them as security guards. They nod silently to Mia. The park is nearby, in a quiet, affluent neighborhood. The day is sunny but cool. Ari, wearing an expensive coat, walks next to Mia, not holding her hand. The guards follow them at a distance of 15 meters, one slightly behind, the other slightly to the side. Mia quickly notices their work. As a woman with a dog passes by, the dog taking an overly keen interest in Ari, one of the guards moves discreetly between them. Dog and owner change course. Teenagers on skateboards, racing down the path, suddenly see a calm, large man standing before them. They skate around him without even protesting. Ari doesn't seem to notice. She approaches the swing and looks at it. Mia pushes her, and the girl swings silently, her face serious. It's not just the guards watching them. Mia feels the weight of that surveillance on her back. They are exhibits in a glass case, taken out for a short walk under strict guard. There is no freedom here. There is only a change of scenery. They walk toward the sandbox. Ari finally shows interest and sits on the edge, examining the other children's castles. A man approaches them. He's well-dressed but understated, with a pleasant smile on his face. He looks like a successful lawyer or businessman. Mia prepares to politely decline if he speaks. The man stops a couple of meters away from them and smiles even wider. Ari, what a meeting! You're so big already, he says in a warm, familiar tone. Ari looks at him, and her face is filled with complete incomprehension. She doesn't recognize him. Mia's guard tightens. She steps forward, slightly shielding Ari with her body. Do you know each other? She asks calmly. Of course! I'm an old friend of her dad's, the man answers easily. His eyes quickly scan Mia, assessing her. Haven't seen the little one in a while. Can I say hello? He takes a step towards Ari. And then everything happens very quickly. Both guards are at his side instantly. They don't run, but their movements are swift and effective. One stands directly between the man and Ari, completely shielding her with his body. The other stands slightly to the side, his hand under his jacket, on his belt. The man's smile fades, then slowly slips. He sees the stony faces of the guards. He sees Mia pushing Ari even further away. Okay, he says, his voice losing all warmth. He takes a step back, raising his hands in a harmless gesture. No need to disturb. Say hello to John. He turns and leaves with the same leisurely pace he came in, but now there's a tenseness in his back. The guards don't disperse. They escort Mia and Ari to the car. Silence reigns in this car. Ari is silent, staring out the window. Mia glances at the back of the driver's head and realizes this family friend, Mosh, was no friend at all. He was a threat, and the guards reacted to him instantly, as if he were a trained threat. The next few days pass at a tense pace. Ari gradually, very slowly, begins to warm up to Mia. She still speaks little, but already allows her to read to her at night. She chose that same old book with the photo. They're back in the park, under the same constant surveillance. Ari takes a small toy with her, an old battered teddy bear. She never parts with it. It's the only imperfect thing in her surroundings. She's playing by the old fountain in the center of the park. The fountain isn't working, its bowl filled with murky rainwater and autumn leaves. Ari tries to place her teddy bear on the edge, but the toy slips from her hands and falls into the water. Ari freezes. Her face is one of pure horror. She doesn't cry, doesn't scream. She simply watches the teddy bear slowly sink, her lips trembling. Mia doesn't think. She doesn't think about the cold water, the expensive clothes, the security guards. She sees the panic in the child's eyes. She quickly sets her bag down, climbs onto the edge of the fountain, and steps into the water. The water is icy. It pours into her sneakers and soaks her jeans. Mud from the bottom rises in a cloud. Mia feels for the toy, grabs it, and climbs back out, shivering. She squeezes the water out of the bear and hands it to Ari. Here, take it. He just wanted to go for a swim. Ari picks up the wet teddy bear and hugs it. She looks not at the toy, but at Mia, at her wet pants, her dirty hands. For the first time, there's no cold judgment or indifference in her eyes. Something new appears there. Unsure, but real. Trust. And at that moment, looking away from the girl, Mia sees something at the bottom of the fountain where she had just been rummaging around. Something glitters among the leaves and dirt. Metal. She takes a closer look. It's not a coin. It's an oblong, narrow piece of metal. One end is broken, jagged. The other, sharpened. It looks like a broken blade, like a broken knife. An icy chill, not from the water, but from this discovery, grips Mia even more intensely. She quickly turns away, so Ari doesn't notice her gaze. She stands up, shakes herself off, trying to appear calm. Come on, we need to go back. I'm wet, she says in an even voice. Ari nods silently, and this time takes Mia's hand herself. Her small palm is warm and clinging. Trust has been bought, at the cost of shock. Returning, Mia changed into dry clothes. The fragment in the fountain kept popping into her head. It could have been trash, accidentally thrown in by someone, but its shape and location. The park next to Chan's house, the place of their safe walks. At dinner, Jean is present again. Ari sits quietly, but now she occasionally glances at Mia, not just at her plate. After the meal, John tells her she can go to the playroom. When the girl leaves, he turns to Mia. Mr. Kim reported a minor incident in the park. You climbed into the fountain. Ari's toy fell over. It's important to her, Mia explains simply. Chan looks at her, his face expressionless. Your reaction was direct, reckless, but direct. There's no approval in his tone, but there's no condemnation either. It's a statement. Mia makes up her mind. She has to ask. The maid's whisper, the nighttime cry, the photograph, this fragment, it all adds up to a disturbing picture. Mr. Chan, she begins cautiously, this house, it's very unusual and quiet. Does it have some kind of history? She tries to sound simply curious, like someone who admires architecture. Chan stops looking at her. He stares off into space above her head. The silence in the dining room grows thick, oppressive. Even the sound of the central heating seems to fade. He slowly places the napkin on the table. He stands up. His movements are smooth, but there's a steel spring tension to them. He doesn't answer. He simply turns and walks out of the room. His footsteps echo loudly in the empty hallway and fade away. Mia remains seated alone at the enormous table. Her question hangs in the air and fades, unanswered. But this very departure, this icy silence, speaks louder than words. The house has a history, and it's so terrible or dangerous that it shouldn't even be asked about. The next morning, while Ari is studying with a tutor, lessons are longer now, and she's less likely to protest, Mia goes out into the garden. She needs some fresh air to clear her head of yesterday's difficult scene. The garden is as well kept and sterile as the house. Perfect lawns, trimmed bushes, and only in one corner, near an old brick wall, is there a bed of roses. They've faded, but the bushes are still green. An old man in simple work clothes is digging near them. His face is furrowed with wrinkles. His hands are covered in soil. Mia approaches. The old man notices her, nods, but continues working. Lovely bushes, Mia says, just to make conversation. Yes, the old man answers hoarsely. His English is heavily accented. White roses, fussy, requiring care. Are they your favorites? Mia asks. The old man pauses for a second. He looks at the bushes, and his gaze becomes distant. No, they were the lady's favorite flowers, he says quietly, almost to himself. The word mistress hangs in the air. Mia immediately remembers the photograph, a young woman with sad eyes. Ladies? Mia asks cautiously. The old man suddenly flinches. He looks at Mia, and panic flashes in his eyes, as if he's just realized he's said something forbidden. Never mind, forget it, he mutters, turning away abruptly and beginning to diligently loosen the soil, which no longer needs loosening. I didn't say anything. You didn't hear anything. He falls silent. Mia knows she won't get another word out of him, but she's already had confirmation. The lady existed, and she had her favorite white roses. And even for an old gardener, talking about her is dangerous. That afternoon, while playing with Eri in that same playroom, Mia makes another discovery. She's already grown accustomed to the black hemispheres hanging from the ceiling. There are three of them. One faces the entrance, another the play area, and the third, the corner with the bookshelves. Mia drops the ball. It rolls into the very corner with the shelves. She goes after it and, as she picks it up, accidentally looks up at the camera. And he sees something strange. The camera is turned. It's not looking into the room, but straight at the wall, at the corner where the ceiling and wall meet. It captures an image of the plaster, and nothing more. Mia looks away, so as not to attract attention if anyone is watching. She turns back to Eri, but her mind is racing. Someone deliberately positioned this camera. Why? To create a blind spot? To do something in this part of the room without being seen? Or to prevent someone else, perhaps Jong himself, from seeing what's going on in that corner? The thought is terrifying. It means there's a gap in the system of total control. And that gap was created by someone with access to the house, someone who wanted to hide from view. Mia glances quickly at Eri. The girl is concentrating on building a tower of blocks. What was she doing in this corner when she thought she was out of sight? Or did someone else come here, into this blind spot, to talk to her? Perhaps the one who was wandering outside the door at night? The feeling that she is not simply looking after a difficult child, but is inside a complex, dangerous labyrinth where every discovery gives rise to new, more terrible questions, becomes unbearable. The quiet evening is interrupted by the vibration of Mia's phone in her pocket. It's her brother, Leo. He rarely calls during work hours, knowing she can have a busy schedule. Leo, is something wrong? Mia asks, moving to the far corner of the room while Eri watches a cartoon. Leo's voice on the phone trembles. It doesn't sound like joy, but rather like genuine panic. Mia, what did you do? What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. Someone paid everything. All the debts, student loans, card debts, every single cent. An official document arrived, anonymous charitable donation. Mia, this is no joke. Such sums don't exist. Who did you get involved with? What do you do at this job? Mia freezes. An icy wave rolls down her spine. She stares at her phone screen as if Jong himself is looking at her through it. He knows. He learned everything about her family, about their problems, and he simply removed them in one movement, without asking, without discussion, like wiping dirt from a painting. Leo, listen, it's okay, she says, trying to sound convincing, but her own voice sounds foreign to her. It's part of my new contract. The bonus. I wanted to surprise you. What a surprise! This is more than your annual salary, Leo practically shouts. You're not telling me the truth. This job, this boss. Mia, it's dangerous. I can feel it. It's okay, I promise, Mia repeats, looking at Eri. The girl turns and looks at her with her wide eyes. I have to go. Don't worry, the money is honest. She ends the call. Her hand trembles slightly. This wasn't a gesture of goodwill. It was a message, clear and precise. I know everything about you. I can give you everything, and I can take everything away. You're in my system now. Jong had bought not only her time, but also her silence, and her brother's safety was part of the deal, something she hadn't even realized. One morning, while taking Eri for a short walk in the garden before school, Mia heads for a bed of white roses. She wants to take another look at the spot where the old gardener works. She stops, her breath catching. Several rose bushes near the wall look mangled. Someone has cut off a few stems, not with pruning shears, but sharply, raggedly, as if in anger. The fresh cuts show white against the dark green foliage. But that's not the worst part. On the ground, between the bushes, on the dark, damp soil, there are stains. Several stains, dark brown, almost black. They have soaked into the earth. Mia knows what blood looks like when it dries. She's seen it on her brother's scraped knees as a child, on her own cuts in the kitchen. These are exactly the kind of spots. She glances around quickly. The garden is empty. No gardener, no guards. Just her and Eri. Mia takes the girl's hand. Let's go, Eri. It's dirty here. Eri follows her obediently, but her gaze also glides over the cut stems. Her face becomes serious, almost adult. She doesn't ask. She simply squeezes Mia's fingers a little tighter. Whose blood is this? Who cut the roses at night? And what happened here? The quiet, well-kept garden suddenly became the scene of potential violence, and white roses, the mistress's favorite flowers, became its silent witnesses. This night begins as quietly as the previous ones. Mia lies in her room, listening to the sounds of the house. She thinks of the blood on the ground, of her brother's phone call. Suddenly, the door to her room quietly opens. Light from the hallway filters through the crack, revealing a small silhouette in pajamas. Mia? Ari's quiet, trembling voice. Mia immediately sits up and turns on the nightlight. Ari! What happened, baby? The girl runs to the bed. Her face is wet with tears, her eyes filled with a terror Mia has never seen before. Ari crawls under the covers and cuddles her, her whole body trembling. I couldn't sleep, she whispers. I heard. What did you hear? Dad. He's there. In the dark room. He cries. Sometimes. Quietly. Very quietly. Mia strokes her hair, trying to calm her down. Adults cry sometimes. It's normal, she says softly. But it smells, Ari continues, sobbing. It smells. Like a book. An old book. The same perfume. My mother's perfume. I remember that smell. It's on the book, and in that room. Ari's words hang in the silence. A dark room. Jong crying. The scent of perfume. Preserved in an old children's book, and which, according to the girl, belonged to her mother. The very woman in the photograph. So that room is somehow connected to Ari's missing mother. And Jong goes there to cry. The stern, icy man who rules this fortress secretly sobs in the darkness, inhaling the scent of his wife's perfume. This discovery doesn't make him any less terrifying. It makes him tragic, and 100 times more dangerous, because the pain of such a person is unpredictable. The next day, Mia begins searching, carefully, so as not to attract attention. Ari described the dark room as not an office. She said the door was small, like something out of an Alice story. Land. Hidden in the wall. Mia recalls the long second-floor hallway. It seems empty, except for the doors to the bedrooms and study. But in light of her new knowledge, she explores it again, and she finds it, almost at the very end of the hallway, where the wall seems solid, there's a barely noticeable vertical gap in the panels. If you don't know what to look for, it looks like a joint between the materials. But if you look closely, it's the outline of a narrow, almost hidden door. There's no handle, just a barely noticeable keyhole flush with the wood. Mia presses the panel carefully. The door doesn't move. It's locked. She stands before this hidden door, feeling the chill emanating from the wood. What's inside? A shrine? A tomb? A hiding place containing the truth about what happened to Jong's wife? Here he cries. Here lies the scent of perfume that his daughter remembers. This door is the key to all the fears and pain in this house. The thought comes to Mia one evening, when she's reading Ari that same old book again at bedtime. The girl is almost asleep, snuggled up to her. Mia mechanically turns the pages. Her fingers slide along the spine of the book, where she'd pulled the photograph out, and she feels something else. Not just the peeling cardboard, something hard, small, hidden deeper. She peers carefully through the crack between the binding and the pages. Inside, in a specially cut recess, lies a small metal key. Old, plain, unremarkable. Mia's heart starts beating faster. She looks at the sleeping Ari, then back at the key. It's too small for the doors in the house, but just right for the old, simple lock, for the secret door. Who put it here? Jong? So that the key to his secret room would always be close to the memory of his wife? Or did Ari herself find it and hide it, instinctively sensing its importance? Mia carefully takes out the key. It's cold and heavy in her palm. It's not just a key, it's a choice. Opening the door means invading Chan's deepest sorrow, but also perhaps finding the answers that keep her awake at night. She decides to do it at night, when the house is completely asleep and the cameras in the hallways flicker with red lights. Mia tiptoes out of her room. The key lies cold in the pocket of her robe. She approaches the secret door. Her palms are sweating. She looks around. No one is there. Quickly, before she changes her mind, she inserts the key into the keyhole. It approaches. It turns with a quiet, dry click. Mia pushes the door. It opens silently on well-oiled hinges. It's dark and smelly inside. It smells of dust, claustrophobia, and the faint, sweet scent of perfume. The same one on the book. Mia fumbles for the light switch. Click! The dim lamp under the shade turns on. This isn't a room. It's a closet. Small, windowless, and it doesn't look like anything else in this house. There's no sterile cleanliness here. On a small table covered in velvet sits a framed photograph. It's of that same woman. She smiles more openly in this shot, happier. A few trinkets lie nearby. A dried flower, a movie ticket, a candy wrapper, small, priceless relics. Children's drawings hang on the walls. They depict three people: a tall man, a stick figure with black hair, a woman, a stick figure with long hair and a skirt, and a little girl between them. They are holding hands. They are in a meadow in the sun. A family. But in one drawing, the very last one, the woman's face is crossed out. Not just crossed out with a pencil, it's smeared with thick, bright red paint. The red spills out from the outlines, splashing onto the paper, as if done in anger or despair. There's a small chair in the corner. A man's jacket lies on it. An empty glass sits on the floor nearby. This isn't a crypt. It's an altar of pain. A place where Chan comes to be with his wife's ghost, to look at his daughter's drawings, and, judging by the red paint, to wrestle with the rage and grief that still tear him apart. The truth behind the door isn't a corpse. It's unbearable, living pain. And Mia has just burst into its very heart. She freezes, stunned by this quiet, personal tragedy. She understands everything and nothing at once. The woman is gone, or taken away. Zhang can't come to terms with it. Ari expresses her loss through drawings. This room is the only place where the stern boss allows himself to be human. A noise outside the door brings her out of her stupor. Footsteps. Heavy, masculine. They are approaching down the hallway. Panic grips Mia's throat. She rushes out of the closet, grabbing the key. She tries to close the door, but her hands are shaking. The click of the lock seems impossibly loud. She jumps back from the door, as if she had been burned, and takes a few steps towards her room, but it is too late. Chan appears from the darkness of the hallway. He's wearing simple trousers and a dark t-shirt. No jacket. His hair is slightly tousled. And his eyes, they're not cold and empty, like usual. They're red from lack of sleep or from crying. A fire burns in them. He sees her. He stops. His gaze slides from her frightened face to the secret door behind her, then back to her. A string tightens in the air, ready to snap. "What are you doing here?" His voice is hoarse, quiet, but it carries a threat that makes your blood run cold. He's not asking. He's demanding. Mia's mind raced. The truth would kill her. Right here, right now, she had invaded his only sanctuary. I couldn't sleep," she says, her voice hoarse and unnatural. "I went to the bathroom, but I got lost. All the doors in this hallway look the same. I was trying to find my room." She looks him straight in the eye, trying to hide her panic behind a mask of confusion and drowsiness. She hopes the darkness will hide the trembling in her hands. Zhang looks at her silently. The seconds drag on like hours. He looks as if trying to read every thought in her head. Does he see the key in her pocket? Does he smell the perfume that might have escaped through the open door? "Your room is in the other wing," he finally says. His voice is still dangerous, but the fire in his eyes has faded slightly, replaced by tired suspicion. "Don't wander around at night. This is an order." And a warning. "Sorry," Mia mutters, and without waiting for an answer, she quickly walks down the hallway toward her room. She feels his gaze on her back, all the way to the corner. Did he believe it? Does he doubt it? She doesn't know. She only knows she was centimeters away from disaster. After that night, something changes. Chan doesn't mention their meeting. He acts as usual, but his behavior toward Mia slowly begins to transform. Before, at dinner, if he was present, he'd simply observe or ask probing questions. Now he starts talking to her. Not about Ari, but about simple things. He asks her opinion on the book Ari is reading. He asks if she likes the neighborhood. He comments on the weather. His tone doesn't warm up. It's still reserved, slightly cold. But his questions now leave room for her to respond. He listens to her short, cautious replies and nods. One evening, Ari, exhausted, falls asleep right at the table. Mia carries her off to bed. When she returns, she finds Zhang at the window, looking out into the dark garden. He turns around. "Is she sleeping?" he asks. "Yes. I fell asleep right away." "She didn't fall asleep this easily before," he says. It's not gratitude. It's a statement of fact, but there's something in his eyes. Something like recognition. "She's just a child," Mia says quietly. "She needs to feel safe." Chan looks at her, and his gaze makes her cringe. He studies her as if he's seeing her for the first time. But this isn't a threat assessment. It's something else, more complex, and therefore even more frightening. "Yes," he says slowly. "Safety." He turns back to the window, making it clear that the conversation is over. For Mia, this change is more frightening than overt threats. Because it's incomprehensible. What is it? An acknowledgement of her usefulness? The first step towards something greater? Or simply a new form of control? more subtle and dangerous. He no longer holds her at arm's length, like an indentured servant. He's starting to let her into his space, even if only by a millimeter. And Mia realizes that the closer she gets to the center of this storm called Chan, the less likely she is to emerge unscathed. Chan allows Mia to leave for a couple of hours on the weekends to buy personal items. For the first time in weeks, she leaves his premises alone, without Eri and without visible security, although she has no doubt she's being watched. She's at a supermarket in a nearby neighborhood, choosing toiletries. A woman quickly approaches her near the shampoo aisles. She's Korean, middle-aged, wearing a simple coat and a scarf that covers part of her face. The woman doesn't look at anything. She quickly thrusts a folded piece of paper into Mia's hand and immediately turns away, disappearing into the crowd of shoppers heading the other way. Mia freezes, clutching the piece of paper in her palm. Her heart is pounding. She puts the note in her pocket and finishes her shopping almost at a run, oblivious to everything else around her. Only in the safety of her car, in the parking lot, does she unfold the paper with trembling hands. It contains just 3 lines of broken English. She's not his daughter. The truth will kill you. Leave, before it's too late. Mia looks at these words, and the world around her spins. She's not his daughter. Who is she? Eri? But they are so similar. And is it about the lady? About that woman? The note doesn't say who she is. It simply sows the poison of doubt into the soil that is already ready to crack. This is a warning. From whom? From someone who fears John? From someone who knows the truth? And most importantly, is it true? Mia remembers childhood drawings of her mother's face crossed out in red. She remembers John's pain. What if this pain isn't from loss, but from betrayal? What if Eri isn't his? Back at the house, Mia locks herself in the bathroom. She takes out her phone and starts searching. She remembers the woman's face from the photograph, her features, the shape of her eyes. She searches in Korean and English for keywords. Disappearance? Korea. Several years ago. Young woman. The search takes time. She scrolls through news and forums and finds it. A 5-year-old article in a small Korean online publication. The headline, Young Woman from Prominent Family Missing. The photo is low quality, but it's enough. It's her. That same woman. Her name is So Min. The article says she disappeared under unclear circumstances. Her husband, businessman Jung, contacted the police. The investigation has stalled. The case is all but forgotten. Mia reads the text over and over again. So she really is missing. Jung wasn't lying about it. But that doesn't confirm or deny the terrible words in the note. On the contrary, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. Why was she kidnapped? Perhaps to put pressure on Jung? Or to hide another truth? The truth about whose Eri really is? The web of lies grows thicker. Every answer gives rise to 10 new questions. And at the center of this web is a little girl who has no idea that her origins could be someone's weapon. Mia can't keep silent. Suspicion, fear, this note, all of it is eating away at her from the inside. She decides to take a desperate step. She wants to see his reaction. A real one. She waits until evening, when Eri is already asleep and Jung is alone in the office. She knocks and enters uninvited. Chan looks up at her. There's a question in his eyes, but no anger. I need to show you something, Mia says, her voice calmer than she expected. She takes a metal plate wrapped in a napkin from her pocket, the very same fragment from the fountain. She places it on the glass surface of the table in front of him. I found this in the fountain in the park, the day I went for Eri's toy, she says, looking him straight in the eye. What was it, Mr. Jung? It looks like a broken knife. Chan looks at the plate, first briefly, then more closely, and Mia sees the blood drain from his face. He doesn't fade slowly. He turns white in a second, as if he's been struck. His fingers, resting on the table, tremble slightly. It's the tiniest movement, but for a man of his iron self-control, it's a scream. He looks up at her. Now there's nothing in his eyes but an icy, primal alarm. Not anger at her for asking, but fear of the subject. Where did you find this? More precisely, his voice is hoarse. At the bottom of the fountain. In the park, where we walk. He pushes away from the table, stands, and walks to the window, turning his back to her. His shoulders are tense. He is silent for several long seconds. It's none of your business, he finally says, but his voice lacks the previous confidence. There's weariness and something else. Pain. Throw it away. Forget you saw it. And don't go in the fountain again. It's not an answer, it's an order. But now Mia knows this fragment means something. It's part of the war that took his wife. And that means the danger isn't in the past. It's here, in their park, beneath the murky water. The next day, Mia's in the garden again. She can't throw away the broken piece. She hid it. She wanders the paths, thinking about Chan's pale face. An old gardener approaches her. He pretends to adjust the hose, but his eyes are wary. He glances around, making sure no one can hear them. "You asked about the lady," he says quietly, not looking at her. His voice trembles. Mia nods, hesitant to speak. "She didn't just disappear," the old man almost whispers. "She was taken. At night. From this house. There was a fight. In the garden." He nods toward the bed of white roses. "Mr. Jung. He became like a beast then. He searched for her, for months. He went through fire and blood to find those people. He found them. All of them." The old man's voice is filled with both horror and strange respect. "But he didn't find her. She didn't come back. They did something. She didn't come back." He falls silent, swallowing the lump in his throat. "And the girl?" he continues, his gaze softening. "Little Ari. She was just a baby then. She's all he has left of his mistress. All he has left at all. He would break the world for her, and he will break anyone who looks at her the wrong way." The old man quickly takes his instrument and leaves, leaving Mia alone with his words. Now the picture is becoming clearer, but even more terrifying. Zhang's wife was kidnapped by enemies. He took revenge, but he couldn't find her. Ari is his daughter, his only connection to the woman he loves, and he guards her not just as an offspring, but as his last relic, as the meaning of his existence. Blood on the roses. Perhaps these are traces of that ancient struggle, or more recent attempts by someone to reach Zhang through his home. The note, "She's not his daughter," now seems to Mia like a desperate attempt to sow discord, a weapon of his enemies. But the shadow of doubt has already been sown. They're in the park. It's a cloudy day, almost deserted. As always, they have 2 security guards with them. Ari is lively today, running a little ahead, showing Mia imaginary butterflies. A black, unmarked van suddenly emerges from around the bend in the alley. It stops abruptly, blocking the path. It all happens in a flash. 3 men in black, wearing balaclavas, jump out of the van. They move quickly, silently, purposefully. 2 of them lunge at the guards. The third goes straight for Ari. The guards don't have time to draw their weapons. They're already under attack, and a brutal, silent fight ensues. The man grabs Ari. The girl screams in horror. He covers her mouth and drags her toward the van. Mia doesn't think. There are no thoughts of Chan, no danger, no rules in her head. She sees only Ari's eyes, wide with terror. She takes off. "No!" she screams and rushes forward, right between the fighting guards and the attacker. She grabs the man's hand that's holding Ari. She can't pull away, but she bites his wrist with all her might. The man growls in pain, and for a second his grip weakens. Ari breaks free and falls to the ground. "Run, Ari! Run away from here!" Mia shouts at her, fighting off the man, who is now angry with her. But the furgon is a trap. Another man emerges from it, heading toward Ari, and the guards are still shackled. Mia sees she can't do it by force. She grabs Ari's fallen arm and drags her off the path and into the bushes. She knows this park. She's been exploring it for weeks. Behind the rose garden is an old, dilapidated fence, and beyond that, the abandoned backyards of neighboring garages. "Follow me, quickly," she whispers to Ari. They run, tripping over roots. Behind them, they hear shouts and the footsteps of their pursuers. One of them almost catches them. Mia pushes Ari forward, turns around, and just like back in the cafe, uses his momentum. She doesn't hit him. She simply crouches sharply and trips him. The man falls, tripping heavily. This buys them a few seconds. Mia pulls Ari through a hole in the fence. They find themselves in a maze of old brick buildings and thickets. Mia leads her to an inconspicuous door, almost boarded up, leading to the basement of one of the dilapidated barns. She noticed it during one of her solitary walks, contemplating escape. She pulls the board aside and pushes Ari inside, into the darkness and the damp smell, then climbs in herself and seals the passage. They sit huddled together in complete darkness, listening to running footsteps and screams outside, and then sirens. Lots of sirens. They sit in the dark for maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Ari is shaking, but she's not crying. She squeezes Mia's hand so hard it goes numb. Then new voices are heard from outside, more organized. Mr. Kim's voice. And then another voice, low, hoarse, filled with such uncontrollable tension that it's almost unrecognizable. It's Jung. He's shouting his daughter's name. Mia carefully crawls out from her hiding place. She sees him. He's standing in the rubble, his clothes in disarray, his hair falling over his forehead. He holds a pistol in his hand. His eyes dart wildly around. He looks less like a boss than like a wounded animal who has lost its young. Mia shouts, not very loudly. He turns around. Their eyes meet. He runs toward her. He sees Aries' frightened face peering out from the darkness of the basement behind her. At that moment, a transformation occurs within him. All the tension, all the rage and fear melts from his shoulders. He falls to his knees before his daughter and embraces her, holding her so tightly, as if he wants to absorb her. He whispers something to her in Korean, his voice breaking. Then he raises his head and looks at Mia. There's no longer any ice or anger in his eyes. There's primal relief and something inexpressibly complex there. He looks at her torn clothes, at the scratch on her cheek, at her pale but determined face. He slowly stands up, still holding Ari in his arms, and moves closer to Mia. You could have run, he says quietly. They had no orders to take you. You could have saved yourself, but you risked yourself. Why? This question sounds less like an accusation than like genuine, almost childish bewilderment. In his world, people act out of fear, duty, or self-interest. His world knows no such behavior. They don't return immediately to the glass house. They're taken to another location, a safe, fortified penthouse in the city center. There's a doctor there who examines Ari and Mia. The girl is mostly unharmed, just a little frightened. Mia has a few bruises and scratches. Ari falls asleep under the influence of a mild sedative in the next room. Mia and John remain in the living room. He stands by the window, looking out at the city at night. He's collected again, but there's a different tension within him. They were Kang's men, he says without preamble. One of those who once worked for the one who took Min. He's dead. Kang is his heir. He thinks old debts need to be repaid. He turns to Mia. Min, my wife. They kidnapped her 5 years ago to break me, to force me to retreat. I didn't retreat. I found them. I destroyed their organization. But I didn't find her. They did something to her. His voice is even, but every word is an effort. Ari is my daughter. The only thing I have left of Min. The only thing I have at all. And now Kang has decided that by taking her, he will break me completely. He comes closer, and his gaze becomes intense. The note they gave you. She's not his daughter. That's his work, a dirty attempt to sow doubt. He knows I checked. I know Ari is mine. I won't let anyone use her as a weapon against me. No one! His words contain all the pain, all the rage, and all the truth. He's not hiding anything anymore. He's telling the story because she just emerged from the shadows and attacked them in the park. And because Mia, risking herself, proved she wasn't on the enemy's side. The next day, they return to the house. Everything is heavily guarded, but something has changed forever. Ari doesn't leave Mia's side. She holds her hand, the hem of her sweater. She sees her not as a hired nanny, but as a savior, as part of her world. That evening, Chan calls Mia into his office. He's not sitting at his desk. He's standing in the middle of the room. Your contract expired yesterday, he says. The probationary day is long past. Mia is silent. She knows it. I can pay you a fortune and take you wherever you want. You'll be safe. Or, he pauses, looking at her appraisingly, but without the previous coldness. You can stay, but not under contract. Contracts are for servants. You've proven you're not a servant. Mia looks at him, not understanding. I'm offering you a place here, on your terms. You'll be close to Ari. You'll be her protection, her friend. You'll be part of this house, not an employee, but part. He chooses his words with unusual care. You'll have freedom and protection, but also danger. What happened in the park today could happen again. This isn't a job offer. It's an invitation to join a select circle, a family, albeit a broken one, albeit a dangerous one. Ari squeezes her hand, looking up at her with his wide eyes, full of hope and fear. Mia thinks about her old life, about the debts that are now paid, about the cafe, about the brother who fears for her, and then she thinks about the little girl who learned to trust her, about the man whose pain she now understands, and about the emptiness she will leave here if she leaves. She hesitates, but she knows that leaving now would be like abandoning them, leaving Ari in this gilded, terrifying cage, and she can't do that anymore. I'll stay, she says quietly. Several weeks pass. The tension doesn't subside. Security is doubled, but something inside the house has thawed. One sunny morning, Mia and Eri go out into the garden. The old gardener has brought new seedlings, white roses, the very same ones. Mia, wearing work gloves, helps him, and Eri, with a serious expression, hands him tools and waters from a small watering can. They plant new bushes where the spots were, covering an old sore spot with new life. Chan watches them from the balcony of his office. He doesn't come down, but he stands there for a long time, watching his daughter get her hands dirty in the dirt, and Mia explains something to her. Smiling, the house is no longer icy and oppressive. Sounds can be heard now. Eri's laughter when Mia tickles her. The quiet conversation in the kitchen where Mia teaches the cook how to make simple pancakes. It's still a fortress, still a place full of secrets and risks. The enemy is out there, and the war isn't over. But there's life in this fortress now. Not perfect, not safe, but real. Mia sometimes passes the secret door in the hallway. It's no longer locked. Chan left it open, as a symbol that he no longer has secrets from her, or as an invitation. If she wants, she can come in. But Mia doesn't yet. She has her own role in this house now, her own new, complex, dangerous family. And when she looks at Eri, who holds her hand tightly and feels Zhang's gaze on her from the balcony, she realizes she's crossed a line. From a simple waitress, she's become something much more, and there's no turning back. A month passes. The danger doesn't disappear. It becomes a familiar background noise, like the noise of the city behind a high fence. Mia learns to live in her new surroundings. She has her own room, but it feels more like a private apartment. She's given a simple but reliable car with security. Her brother Leo, under strict but unobtrusive supervision, gets a good job in another city. Chan resolves everything simply, without discussion. Mia learns not to ask questions. Eri is changing. She hasn't yet become a normal, carefree child. That's impossible within these walls. But she laughs louder. She asks questions. She's started drawing new pictures. They now feature 4 figures: a tall man, a girl, a woman with long, wavy hair, and another, smaller figure, which Eri colors in warm colors. She never explains who it is, but Mia knows. Zhang is changing too. He's not softening up. He remains the same Iron Man who makes tough decisions. But in the presence of Mia and Eri, his iron heats up slightly. He started having dinner with them every night, unless he's away. He asks Mia about her day. Sometimes his questions still feel like an interrogation, but more often, they're just conversation. He started telling Eri simple stories from his childhood, something he never did before. One day, he calls Mia into his office. There's a folder on the desk. Kang hasn't calmed down, he says without preamble. He's trying to dig under us through old connections, through people who knew something about Min. He opens the folder. There aren't photographs, but printouts of financial documents, company charts. I can't just erase him like the others. He's careful, and he has protection. This will be a long game. He looks at Mia. You can still leave. It will only get more dangerous. Mia looks at the documents, then at him. She's not thinking about money or safety. She's thinking about Eri, waiting for her in the playroom so they can make funny animals out of Play-Doh together. She thinks about how the girl has stopped being afraid of the sounds of the night because she knows Mia is there. I'm staying, she says again. And this time there's no hesitation in her voice. Zhang nods, as if he'd been expecting exactly that answer. He closes the folder. Then there are rules. You're learning. Basic safety precautions. How to behave in different situations. How to protect Eri if something happens, and I'm not around. Mr. Kim will be your instructor. It's not an offering. It's a necessity. Mia agrees. Now her days are filled with more than just games and books. She spends several hours a week in a basement converted into a classroom. She learns to spot surveillance, use simple protective equipment, and act in a crisis. It's frightening, yet at the same time, it gives her a strange sense of control. That evening, while tucking Eri into bed, the girl hugs her and whispers, "Are you here forever now?" Mia strokes her hair. "Yes, baby, forever." That's not entirely true. Nothing lasts forever, especially in John's world. But in this room, at this moment, it's the only possible truth. She steps out into the hallway and meets Chan. He's just returned. He looks at her, and his gaze lacks the usual heavy assessment. There's something like weary recognition. They are no longer master and employee. They are allies in a strange war, and a family forged from the rubble of tragedy, fear, and unexpected loyalty. The door to the dark room is indeed unlocked. Sometimes Mia sees Chan emerge from there. He doesn't cry. He simply stands there for a few minutes in silence and then moves on, towards them, towards the living.